Again, the next nomination is the Reston National Golf Course, which is located between Colts Neck Road, Sunrise Valley Drive, and South Lakes Drive. A soapstone road bisects the property, dividing the eastern and western portion. It is also located about a half-mile from the Reston Town Center Metro Station. Currently, the site is developed and operating as a golf course, and the recommended use for this property by the comprehensive plan is for private recreational, more specifically to remain as a golf course. It is also important to note that this site contains resource protection areas and floodplains along its southern and eastern edges. This nomination proposes dedicating 80 of the 166-acre site for open space, parkland, or other public uses. This area, shown in green on the map, is located on the eastern half of the site. The portion of the property proposed for open space also includes a resource protection area and floodplains. The remaining 86 acres located on the western half of the site are proposed for residential redevelopment. This area is shown in yellow on the map. The nomination envisions a mix of housing types at various price points, including townhouses and multifamily units. At the time of submission, the nominator had not specified the number of proposed dwelling units. Staff recommends that this proposal not be added to the work program, as it conflicts with the comprehensive plan guidance recommending the golf course remain private recreation use. Mark Looney, who represents the nominator, will provide a brief presentation of the nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Looney with Cooley on behalf of the nominator. 3 minutes is a very short time in which to discuss this proposal, so what I want to try to do is set the stage for why it is here before you. The golf course is 60 years old. Over that time period, it has not had the upkeep and infrastructure improvements necessary, and it is now facing a backlog of infrastructure improvements, from sprinkler systems to a 60-year-old clubhouse to you name it. And so the property is at a point of inflection for the owners. Do we reinvest into the existing facility, or do we pivot into a different concept for the property? It's 166 acres in size. As staff noted, it sits within a half-mile of 2 different metro stations. It's interesting that just because the existing comprehensive plan recommends something, that's somehow a prohibition on considering something different. We have filed pre-application materials, and will file later this month a PRC plan application. David, if I could go 2 slides up, I think, that would show what a reimagined golf course would look like. Changing the back 9 to the front 9, the front 9 to the back 9, a new driving range, new putting and chipping facilities, lighted golf facilities, a small amount of residential. That's essentially a by right plan. Is that necessarily what's appropriate for this 166 acres for the next 60 years? That's the fundamental question that we're trying to ask and answer. All we are asking for at this moment in time is for you to consider what this property could be used for the next 60 years other than this. Isn't this the time to have that conversation? We're not asking you to approve anything. We don't even have a concept for exactly what this would look like, other than it would be something different than it is today. All we are asking you to do is to authorize the dedication of some staff time to help us and the community figure out what should this property be for the next 60 years and beyond. That's it. We're not asking for anything more than that. But once we pass this moment of inflection and decisions are made about what to do with the property for the next 60 years, we lose out on those opportunities. We lose out on the opportunities to bring new residential housing under the umbrella of the Reston Association and help them deal with the 9-figure capital backlog that their infrastructure budget faces. We lose out on the opportunity to add significant new ridership to the Silver Line, which we all invested collectively $6.5 billion to build, and that is underperforming. that underperformance means that the rest of Fairfax County is subsidizing the fact that we haven't generated the ridership on the Silver Line that was anticipated when we agreed to build it. It also gives us an opportunity to think about how to put this property into actual public open space and actual public use, as opposed to having people think that it's a public facility when it's in fact a private facility. And we are dealing now and have dealt with trespassing because people, the owners have dealt with it because people treat it as public space when it is in fact private space. But if we can reimagine the property, it can actually become public space that the rest of Fairfax County, the rest of Reston can use. So that's why we're asking you to dedicate some staff time, is for us to try to help figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter, you want to start us off?
Yes, I'm going to support the staff recommendation on this, which is not to add to the work program. There's nothing stopping the applicant from working with the community right now. And I think there's a lot of work to do on this. I think the plan is sketchy. We don't really know within a parameter of how many units we're proposing. We sort of know where they might go, but we don't have a lot of detail there. We don't know about the affordable housing aspects. And I don't think you should expect staff to have to come up with that. I think that's the applicant's job, to work with the community to come up with a scheme. And I think we've been over this a lot of times. It's not 40 years like the last one, but it's been several years. And this comp plan was done by this, we went through lots of hearings. I don't know, it might even be over 100 with the community. The Planning Commission debated this issue extensively at the time, and the Board of Supervisors did as well. So I think expecting the staff to resolve some of these issues before the applicant has actually met with the community and tried to come up with something, I think it's premature, and that the staff has the correct notion on this. Remember that it's only 18 months, again, as I said last time, before the next round. 18 months to come up with at least a concept illustrative plan, at least a notion of where the environmental, there's filled with steep slopes, it's got streams in there, it's got tree save areas, it's got lots of things that haven't been delineated with much precision. And I don't think we should expect the staff to go off and figure out all of those things and work with a scheme like this when we have debated this so many times. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor this, but
Mr. Chairman,
I've got more that doesn't apply just to this.
Are you were somewhat posing that as a question. Can Mr. Looney respond? Well, Mr. Looney, please respond.
Sure. So I don't want to conflate what a comprehensive plan process is with what a rezoning process is. The comprehensive plan process is essentially asking the question, is this a good idea? And the rezoning provides the details for how you implement. Once you answer the question, is this a good idea, the rezoning addresses how you implement that good idea. No one is advocating that the staff come up with the plan. Instead, the way this process works, I can't study, for example, or the applicant can't study and evaluate the transportation impacts and how they might be mitigated if a change were to be proposed, unless I have the county's Department of Transportation and the State Department of Transportation at the table to set the scope, to analyze, determine which intersections to study, to determine what background traffic to include in terms of growth assumptions. All of that is a process that, unless we have the public sector's involvement, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. The whole endeavor of a comprehensive plan, as I said, is trying to figure out whether we should do something differently than we've done in the past.
Okay.
I could go on, Mr. Chairman, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, Commissioner Hancock?
Sorry. as long as
All right, Commissioner Carter, is there anything else right now? I'll turn to Commissioner Hancock to give you some, and at any point you have some additional comment, please. Commissioner Hancock.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, a question from staff. I think what we have here is the existing golf course. Mr. Looney, through the nominator, has suggested housing plus dedicated open space. I think he's suggested a third option here that I think is a little outside right now of the purview of the Planning Commission as we see it today. In staff's recommendation that this not be on the work program, is it staff's intention that staff has a preference for what should be used for this land?
Not recommending to add it to the work program is not a preference for the existing use over some alternative. It was really, in considering all of these, staff is generally willing to look at our mixed-use centers, other areas of priority. This is outside of a transit station area. There is recognition that there are other issues that would need to be considered, but on this one, it was just simply a recommendation at this time not to add it to the work program.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification. I think there's, maybe as I read it in some of the staff reports that suggested that there were perhaps some major issues, but I want to talk about that. But, just to be candid on this one, I've struggled a little bit on this one. I appreciate Commissioner Carter's kind of thoughts and comments as he's thought about this as well. At one time in my life, I played golf and actually had time to play golf. That doesn't really exist right now. But you recognize, in that is that from a land use perspective, golf courses are pretty limited. This is a otherwise publicly accessible, but it is a privately owned golf course. It's limited to those who can play. You have to have the gear to be able to play. With golf, there is a limitation on the amount of people that can actually use the course in a single day because the actual use damages the golf course. And so to be able to keep that up has an impact. And so it's very limited. And so we have made major investments here through Metro. We are making investments from an economic standpoint of workforce. And we have this view from a vision that was set out, 50 years ago, that this place of where people can work, live, and play. And I fear that without being able to study some of these larger issues, if we cannot look outside of a transit area for housing, we're telling people that there's not an option to move here, that you can't afford to live here because there aren't the options, because we're not willing to even study some of these issues. And we're only limiting people to live and to be able to afford in a transit area. And now we've dedicated a transit area here that I view is pretty limited because of the golf course. And I think we need to be looking a little broader. Now, I know we have heard lots of sides of this issue, and I know that we're going to hear that in the future. And I promise I'm a good listener, and I want to hear the different comments here. But you mentioned here that the issue is the transit area. When I looked at the staff report, the issue that came out of there was around the issue of sound. And I question whether we can resolve those sort of issues, or whether it's worth looking at if we have whatever the number, 180 acres, 166 acres, that's within a mile of a metro stop. If we were just looking at this, how would we use land within a mile of a metro stop? I am challenged to see that the priority would be a golf course if we had that option. And so my goals in this is, when housing is really important, affordable housing is really important. I think we have challenges across the county, but we have challenges in Reston. And so I fear that without the ability to study, we are missing out on some of those opportunities to have the conversation about how do we get affordability outside of a transit area and make sure that the goals of this, of an inclusive Reston, looking at those lenses of equity, that we're meeting that. and that we're using land that is really accessible to everyone who wants to use it. And so I'm challenged with this idea that we can't study it now because of these issues, which I feel like can be solved through this process, and that if something comes back, it has to be significantly different. As I think the staff said, that there has to be a change in the proposal or sufficient justification to take it back. And so I'm open to kind of hearing the public comment. So maybe the question, my long-winded kind of wind up here for staff is, I heard the transit area, I heard the sound issue in the staff report. What are the other issues from staff's perspective that you would need to gather in order to make a better decision here?
Hi, Kelly Atkinson, Planning Division. I think for us, we really need a more detailed layout. We need to have additional conversations internally regarding the PRZ zoning district and the implications to that with this project. It's unclear how many units are being proposed, and there's been a big unknown. And I think this is one of the nominations that had the least amount of information being provided for a site of its size. And so we just need more information from the applicant at this point.
Okay. I think one of the issues that would need to be resolved is going up in the number of units. Mr. Looney, you had suggested some issues or questions around being able to do a transportation study. I'm wondering whether you've kind of done any initial analysis or thoughts on how transportation would be impacted in this area.
So the short answer is we've done a very high-level understanding. I mean, if you think about it, the Gulf itself generates very few trips, particularly in the wintertime. I mean, it's seasonal in terms of its use. We know that there are limited points of access into and out of the property because of what has developed around it. The PRC plan that I mentioned earlier has some new curb cuts that would come with that. There would need to be a more sophisticated traffic analysis done. And I can tell you the number of units that we have talked about, and I have talked about publicly in the community, is somewhere on the order of 10 dwelling units per acre on the 85 plus or minus acres that we have suggested could be developed. One of the things I've also said in public forums as we've talked about this is we're not necessarily wed that it has to be this 85 acres as the development area and those 80 acres as the open space. There's room to maneuver in all of this stuff. And I think, again, I go back to what staff said, Ms. Atkinson said a second ago, which is I need more detail to evaluate this. All we're trying to do is answer the question is this a good idea, right? And is it a good idea to study this? And if you tell us it's a good idea to study it, we can come back and give you a whole lot more details about a whole lot of things. But I got to have a partner on the other side of the table that says it's a good idea to study this. And then we'll dedicate as much resources as we can muster to try to answer whatever questions there are about it. But I got to have a partner on the other side of the table that's willing to receive the information that we provide. If I don't have that partner, it's not pursuing the study. And that's really what we're asking for, is I need a partner to help us evaluate these things. You can figure out later whether you want to approve it, but I need a partner to evaluate it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Spain?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not going to go into a long explanation. I have to say I agree with Commissioner Hancock. I respect how the community feels, and I definitely respect Commissioner Carter. But since this application has come before us a time before, I am very experienced with having friends, neighbors, relatives who live in this area who are impacted by definitely the traffic situation. And if we could please do a study to determine if this is truly a feasible application to move forward regarding the transportation, if there is a allowance for affordable housing in this area, because we need it everywhere in Fairfax County, and this could be one of the best or a better spot for it, but we need to know facts. if it is possible to go forward with this, then putting it on tier 3, at least to do a little bit more study in the long run, would be most helpful. And if it's not, then we can, possibly shut it down and never have to visit it again. But we have to examine all of the alternatives out there before we just say no. So I'd like to hear more on where this project could go. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Batricalzi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what Commissioner Hancock and what Commissioner Spain have said. I think that given where we are in the county, I understand, and I'm sure that we'll hear about how the community feels about this, but we should give this the opportunity to study it. We're running out of land, and running out of places to put affordable housing. And given that this is a private piece of property that's 166 acres within a mile of a transit area, is something that we deeply, deeply need to consider. I heard some folks share that they're concerned about resource protection zones and flood zones and other kind of environmental factors. And these are all things that, can be studied and should be studied if we're willing to, as Commissioner Spain said, put it on tier 3. So I just wanted to speak to that.
Commissioner Cortina?
When when WMATA decided to put these stations where they put them, the planning that went into that, when the county endorsed it, they knew what the PRC looked like and what was golf course and what was where housing was going to go. And those areas were carved out, the TSAs out of the PRC. And the PRC was an, integral component of Reston historically, as well as the way that it was planned. I'm very concerned about the number of holes that have been punched through the PRC, making it Swiss cheese in terms of its land area, rather than really dealing with the planning issue around the zoning, which is the density. But that was revisited a few years ago. We reinforced the support for that plan. We had an opportunity here to weigh in on that. And we've seen these yellow shirts before for those of us who've been on the commission for a while. So I do understand the concern, there's a golf course here, it's near a TSA, and that this somehow, happened. We've all known this for as long as this has been planned. And I guess when the flexibility was provided to Mr. Simon to sketch out what this town would look like, what this new town would be, this was part of that clustering that occurred. And so I do have real skepticism about pulling it out, even though I do hear the comments that have been made by the representative and the others, but I would support the planning commissioner from Hunter Mill on this one. Thanks.
Commissioner Wang?
Thank you. Just had some background questions for context. I understand the golf course currently has some maintenance issues. How has demand been for, coming to this golf course? How are membership levels? Have we seen a drop in demand? Related, are there other golf courses in the vicinity? And under your proposal, would there be any golf course at all, or it would be completely removed?
Yeah, so a lot of questions in there. Historically, well, let me back up. It is not a membership club in the sense of a country club like Westwood or International. Westwood's down in Vienna, about 8 or 9 miles away. It's not that model. Instead, it's a fee-based, pay-to-play, privately owned facility that the public has access to. Golf numbers pre-COVID had been declining for a decade or so. During COVID, they spiked back as people used outdoor activities. And what we've seen in the industry has been a shift in terms of the types of golfers and the experiences that they're looking for. The PRC plan, which is essentially if it's going to stay a golf course, here's how we would redo it plan, incorporates some new elements into the project. Multi-tiered, lighted driving range. Fairfax County Park Authority owns such things. This is not a new or novel thing because it's a privately owned facility. Indoor and outdoor instructional facilities, new food and beverage offerings, lighted holes and chipping and putting areas that if it were going to stay, it would be transformed into a more modern golf facility to be able to compete with other facilities, both public and private, existing in the Northern Virginia area. If it were to be reimagined, we've identified, on the order of 80 acres of land that could be set aside for public uses of all types. If the decision is that those 80 acres should be reserved for golf and it's owned by the Park Authority or somebody else, so be it. We're not going to prejudge what that is. But the reality is that we're at this point of inflection where we need to make a decision one way or the other, and we're just asking the question, like, for the next 60 or 70 years, what's the right use of this property? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then are there other golf courses in the vicinity?
So the town of Herndon, which is about 4 or 5 miles away, has a golf course. I mentioned Westwood in the town of Vienna, that's about 8 or 9 miles away. International down on Route 50 is probably another 7 or 8 miles away. And there are other facilities in the area beyond that. But actually, now that I think about it, there's a whole other golf course on the north side of the toll road called Hidden Creek that is the second golf course that was created when Reston was first established. So there was what was called the North Course and then the South Course. And the North Course is today Hidden Creek, which is a membership model country club that has a swimming pool and tennis courts and all of the country club attributes. And then the Southern Course is the one that we're talking about now that didn't go with that model. But so there's 2 golf courses within, call it, a mile of each other.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Anyone else? I wanted to just pose this question to staff. So we've heard that there's another SSPA process, of course, so if we stay on the same cycle in another 18 months or so. What would be different in 18 months than now if the applicant comes forward again in 18 months?
Sure, I'll take this question, I suppose. Well, presumably more detail. There is an opportunity for the Planning Commission to recommend to the nominator to do some of the work that was suggested to develop this concept and with that kind of community engagement. I would say it's also possible that through the course of evaluating some of these plan amendments in Reston, this question about PRC zoning is going to come up with other plan amendments, and that will also inform this particular proposal, were that to come back.
And so I think I heard you say that the nominator has not fulfilled certain requirements that or expectations that we had. Is it by process or in the interactions on the nomination itself?
Well, they've put together an application, so in that sense, that they did fulfill that expectation. I think that what would be different in the next round, or what they could do in the next round, would be, as Clara had explained, would be to provide additional information, more information, so that we could fully evaluate it, and that really would be the difference. as far as, what they provided in they met the criteria for the nomination for the submittal this time around.
Here's what I'm concerned about, and I don't have a perspective immediately right now because I do want to hear from our speakers. But I'm concerned about the implications of an owner who's a reluctant owner of a golf course. And we all know that golf courses are very difficult to manage and maintain. And if it's an aged course that has a backlog of maintenance requirements, I'm even more concerned in that context. I mean, it's one thing to have someone who's enthusiastic golf course operator who will go out of his or her way to really make things work. But it's a whole other matter to have a large parcel of property like this, situated strategically as it is, to have a reluctant operator. So that's a concern that I want to voice. And related to that is this question of by right. And I guess, Mr. Looney, you're probably the best to respond to this. What are the options for the property owner under a by right scenario?
So diving into the history, actually, let's go, David, to, if we could, there's a slide that it sort of summarizes. Maybe, bear with me 1 second. It is slide 17 and 18. So real quickly, the way the PRC zoning district works, there was the master plan that was created in 1962 and then designated various uses around the planned community. The master plan gets implemented through a series of rezoning applications, anywhere from 100 to 300 acres at a time. And then below the, sorry, not that one. Sorry. So anyway, there's a development plan that accompanies the rezoning that establishes within a particular sector of the planned community what can happen in that area. After the rezoning, there are two additional plans that come behind. One is called a PRC plan, which is effectively a preliminary site plan, and then the actual site plan that authorizes the construction of the horizontal development, so the utilities, the roads, that sort of stuff. The zoning on the property governed by the development plan on this property, for the vast majority of it, as staff said earlier, says private recreation and open space. So that's the effective zoning of the property. So from our perspective, so long as we are staying within the definition of private recreation and golf course and open space, we can come in and with a PRC plan, preliminary site plan, and a site plan, we can reconfigure the golf course. Move the tee boxes, move the greens, regrade it, put in new sand traps, do other sorts of things. There's a small element of the property that actually has zoning dating back, go to the next slide, dating back to 1966, in which the development plan on about 14 acres of the site designates it as medium density residential, which in the context of the PRC zoning district means 20 dwelling units to the acre. And so we would file a PRC plan to reconfigure all 166 acres, with the overwhelming majority of that, 152 acres, give or take, being reconfiguration of the existing golf course use consistent with its zoning. The other 14 acres being the addition of 288 stacked townhouses consistent with the 1966 zoning approval. It's a PRC plan. It happens to go to the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors. I'll say that we're certain that if we go through and we end up here before you, there will be a question as to what authority does the county have in the context of that PRC plan. It's kind of come up in a few other instances, and that may be the test case in which we answer that question, but that's effectively what we mean by right, is that it's zone golf. If we do golf, we get approved for golf. That's what I mean.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have. So we do have 4 listed speakers, and we certainly want to hear from them. First speaker is Connie Hark, representing Rescue Reston. Ms. Hark, you could please come down, followed by Lisa White and Travis Johnson. If you would all come down and be ready to step up to the podium, I'd appreciate it. Good evening.
Good evening. Connie Hartke, President of Rescue Reston. I will publish this testimony in Patch along with a map that you all have a copy of showing the 16 already approved projects in Reston's transit-oriented development area, all of which include residential housing. Add to this the 10 SSPAs before you tonight, all which include residential components. Reston has housing in the pipeline. Please vote against this SSPA for Reston National Golf Course. The two golf courses are the lungs of Reston. You kill one or both golf courses, and you have killed Reston's planning. The owner of Reston National paid nearly $24 million for land that was sold for $5 million in 2005, land that was clearly not zoned for development. There is nothing wrong with golf at Reston National. The problem is the owner didn't buy it for golf. They bought it to make a killing. At the April 7th community public meeting, the owner's attorney told over 400 residents that the ownership has, quote, a right to achieve a financial return and a success with their investment. That's not planning rationale when you overpaid tremendously. That's entitlement. Here's a quick sales history of another property under consideration tonight. The SSPA for 10690 Park Ridge Boulevard, commonly known as Park Ridge 4, illustrates the risks of speculation. That office building, once worth nearly $40 million, sold in 2022 for a $24.9 million loss. That's the nature of real estate investment. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Do not give into threats, misrepresentations, or pressure to destroy one of Fairfax County's largest remaining open spaces. Ask someone besides the developer's attorney how golf is going at Reston National. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harkey. Ms. White, followed by Mr. Johnson. You have 2 minutes. Okay. Good evening.
Hello, I'm Lisa White. I've been a resident of Reston for 24 years, more than half of which I've spent fighting to protect Reston's open space. To paraphrase Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, the problems of a couple billionaires don't amount to a hill of beans in Fairfax County. The golf course owners assert that they have a right to a return on their investment. It was a speculative gamble on their part. Did you ever invest in a business that went belly up or buy a stock that tanked? Not all gambles pay off. It is not the responsibility of Reston and Fairfax County to ensure that the golf owners make money. It is, however, the responsibility of Reston and Fairfax County to preserve open space, protect our environment, and safeguard the culture and quality that is Reston. We know that Reston needs additional housing, and there are upwards of 10,000 residential units going up in areas where development has been planned for many years. At community meetings, I've heard young people say they want to live in Reston, but they can't find a place. Well, I ask that they just chill a little and hang on, because housing is coming. It's on the horizon. I ask that you vote no to the SSPA for the Reston National Golf Course. And I ask that the golf course owners sell it to an organization that wants a golf course. Then pick up their marbles and take their greed back to Baltimore. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Travis Johnson, you have 2 minutes, please.
Thanks.
I'm going to raise this up just a little bit for you.
Oh, wow. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Travis Johnson, President of the Board of Directors of the Reston Association. I am testifying tonight regarding the Site-Specific Plan Amendment Work Program nominations. I'm here on behalf of the Reston Association's 65,000 residents in the Hunters Mill District to reiterate the association's position on preservation of golf courses within the Reston community. Reston Association has consistently opposed any efforts to redevelop our golf courses as reflected in past resolutions adopted by the RA Board of Directors. The Reston National Golf Course, which is the subject of this particular SSPA nomination, is designated permanent recreation and open space and a vital recreational amenity under the Reston Master Plan. This plan was heavily vetted during the recent comprehensive plan update process, and more than 50 public meetings were held regarding land use in the Reston area. No changes were proposed at that time to the allowed land uses on the Reston National Golf Course site. And the commitment to golf course and open space was kept and adopted by the Board of Supervisors less than 3 years ago. That commitment to recreational opportunity and natural beauty dates back to Reston's original guiding principles that helped found our community more than 60 years ago. Any significant change to Reston's land use must be driven by community consensus and appropriate public dialogue. Our membership has consistently been vocal about our opposition to golf course development, as it sets a dangerous precedent for converting designated open spaces into high-density developments. Should this proposed development move forward, it would constitute a significant loss of open space in Reston and goes against the core priorities of our community. We recommend that the Planning Commission follow the county planning staff's recommendation and not add this SSPA to the county's work program. Additionally, as it relates to the other SSPAs under consideration, the Reston Association firmly holds that any residential development within the Reston Master Plan area must be required to join the Reston Association. Thank you for your time and attention.
So, sir, if I could ask a question. We heard from the nominator a reference to RA's stake in the golf course. I didn't quite understand that, and I'm not asking you to explain, but I wanted to give you an opportunity. If you did understand the comment, did you want to respond in some fashion?
As to I believe he was talking about the financial stake that Reston Association had. As much as I appreciated his thoughtfulness about RA's finances, we're doing just fine. I'm not sure what his perspective was, but it's incorrect.
All right. I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to take it.
I appreciate that.
So that's the end of our list of speakers. Is there anyone in the auditorium who wishes to speak to this nomination? If you would come down, please, just come on down. All of you who wants to make a statement, please come down and be in the front and just step up to the microphone. When you're finished, if you would, to sign up over here to my right, your left.
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. My name is Richard Hoffman. I'm speaking on behalf of Lynn Molston, who's the president of the Reston Citizens Association, and I'm a member of that association. And Lynn has I believe she may have submitted a video to the Planning Commission. First, Reston's 2 golf courses are an integral part of our planned recreational fabric and environmental core. As Connie said, they're literally the lungs of Reston, specifically placed where they are because the majority of their acreage is in floodplains. Reston is a PRC where density in some areas is offset by open space in others, primarily the 2 golf courses. The proposed action would irrevocably destroy this balance. Further, Reston's PRC has a population cap as a key component. There is no space under the cap for this proposal. Second, both courses are popular and the subject of inquiries from golf course companies interested in purchasing them as golf courses. Claims by the developers' representatives that golf at Reston National is failing are false. Finally, these speculators overpaid when they bought this course. They gambled they would be able to bulldoze their way past our comprehensive plan and 60 years of history. They have failed twice before, but hold on to the hope that they only need to succeed once, and the damage to Reston would be irrevocable. Recently, a broad cross-section of Reston residents spent years working with the county staff, our supervisor, our planning commission, commissioners, developers, attorneys, land use experts, civics groups, and others to develop the upgraded comprehensive plan for Reston and was in sync with the county's overall comprehensive plan. The issue of the golf courses was fully discussed and considered. The nominator is asking that all this be thrown away, that their frustrated desire to make a quick buck takes precedent over our community. Please follow the staff recommendation and reject the Reston National Golf Course SSPA for inclusion in the 2025 Comprehensive Plan Work Program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Ruth Ann Pinkman, and I had not planned to speak, so forgive me if I've just made a few notes, and they may be a little jumbled. But I'm just here representing myself. But I don't know really where to start. As Mr. Carter and Ms. Cortina have said, we've been here many times before, and I think we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. But that said, I also want to point out that it has been said over the years that people in Reston don't want change. That is not true. This has nothing to do with not wanting change. Mr. Looney always gives a very nice professional presentation. And if you don't really listen to, or if you don't pay attention to what's behind it, it may sound great. A public park will give you, nobody can access the golf course unless you pay to play on the golf course. This is a true statement. And people who live around the golf course understand that. But to pretend that they're going to build or give us a public park that, oh, we're not sure who's going to maintain that park. What's going to happen with that land? I think it would quickly deteriorate. It's always a moving target as well. Last time it was invasive species, and so invasive species, oh, we got to build houses because there's invasive species. Now it's maintenance. The golf course is 60 years old and it's not maintained. A, not true. I see maintenance happening every day on that golf course. B, the golf course maintainers, operators, Kemper Golf, would love to continue to maintain that golf course. They are being held back with a significant budget restrictions from the owners. Anybody who owns 60-year-old property, guess what? What do you do with your property? Maintain it, right? We're happy for them to maintain the property, including improving it. Update the clubhouse. Let people come in and have other things there besides just golf. But again, building houses is a dramatic way to resolve, to take care of your property. The bottom line really is, as I think Ms. Hartke said, they bought a golf course. They own a golf course. They may have overpaid for it. Not our problem. Not your problem. Build houses somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Jay Slomowitz, and 30 years ago, I'm just one of the people who lives on the golf course. 30 years ago, my company transferred me here from Michigan, and I looked around and I heard about a place called Reston where it was a planned community where you were supposed to work, live, and play, and I fell in love with it. I paid a premium to move into Reston. I paid a premium to live on a golf course. And the golf course was very successful. It was busy, and it was a good neighbor. And then somewhere along the line, somebody got the idea that they can make money, and they bought the golf course, first for $5 million, now for $24 million. And all of a sudden, yes, it's not maintained because they're not maintaining it. From my property to where the golf course is, there's about 25, 30 feet where they're not mowing. Golfers who come to play right now on that Reston National Golf Course are not happy. And they figure if they can go ahead and not maintain the golf course the way they used to be, and they can go ahead and make a lot of money by building. What about all of us people who paid a premium to live on that golf course? Now we're going to have houses over there that it's going to devalue our properties. Now, you folks are supposed to take care of Fairfax County building, but you also have to take care of our residents over here. Somebody's got to be responsible to help us residents who are going to lose value over this thing. Thank you. I hope you really keep it as a golf course.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Next up, please. Good evening.
Good evening. I did fill out the form to speak tonight. I don't know, yesterday, so I don't know why my name wasn't there.
Well, you're here and you have the same amount of time, so welcome.
Thank you. My name is Brian Wright. I've lived in Reston for 50 years, not 30, 50. And I live right behind the original, the course we're talking about. And just as the past speaker said. It was well maintained. It was a wonderful golf course. That course now is rated 3.6. Golf courses are rated up to 5. If you're a 3.6, you don't want to play that golf course. These people have come in, and Mr. Looney represents them. They bought this golf course. They are Baltimore millionaires. The president is the brother of the founder of Under Armour, and they have come in with the idea of duping you and us and Reston and developing it for townhouses, not for the benefit of transit, not for the benefit of Fairfax County, but to line their pockets, to make millions. They don't want to run a golf course. They came in with great plans 5 years ago, paid $24 million. They have not followed through. I went to that golf course today. I live in Reston. I'm a member of the country club. And I played on this course for 10 years before I joined the country club. It's a great golf course, designed by one of the great architects of this area, Ed Holt. His name was Ed Holt, A-U-L-T. With the right ownership, with owners that do own golf courses, it could be a gem. In fact, on the website, if you go to the website for Warhorse Cities, which is the name of the development company in Baltimore, and they list their projects. One of their projects is Reston National Golf Course, a gem. They haven't changed their site from when they bought it 5 years ago, and they refer to that golf course as a gem.
Sir,
and
can you summarize?
And
can you summarize?
Pardon?
Please summarize.
I will summarize right away. The bottom line is the people of Reston support the Reston Association supports the quality of life in Reston. And overwhelmingly, the people of Reston, and you have already heard some of them, the representatives of that, are totally against. I would say over 90%
I understand the point.
Of this development.
And if you'll sign over here, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sign, sir, sign up. Sir. All right, is there anyone else? Is there anyone on the phone who wishes to speak to this nomination?
No callers.
Okay, thank you.
One of the authors of the Reston Comp Plan, and we start changing that, I think that is unfortunate and disappointing, because if we're not going to support the comp plan, I don't know who is. Now, what goes along with that is one example. There's a whole set of principles in the Reston Comp Plan that emphasize community engagement. Some of these have done a good job. Some of them could stand for more.
Number 28, Reston National Golf Course. And this was, the staff recommended not adding this to the work program. Commissioner Carter, you support that. But given the conversation, I thought it was appropriate for us to at least put that on the, as a motion to not add it to the work program, and then we can have a deliberation on that.
Okay. So let me...
Consistent with staff's recommendation.
Let me catch up. I'm having trouble finding these numbers.
28.
Yeah, okay. So my motion, CPN 2025, Roman numeral 3-HM-028, Reston National Golf Course, do not add to the work program. This area is not in the TSA? Oh, go ahead.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Carter to support staff's recommendation and not add it to the work program. Seconded by Commissioner Cortina. Discussion. Commissioner Carter, you wanted to make a point?
Well, we've talked this through for a lot of years. We were the authors of the last comp plan. And I think it's disappointing that we come back and support the basic tenets of this at this time. I think the application is incomplete. I think it doesn't clearly lay out what housing or whether it's affordable. It's not in the TSA. It doesn't resolve this clustering issue that bothers me anyway. This was part of the cluster development. So the adjacent townhouses and the open space went together in one application. So now we're coming back and saying, all right, well, let's go ahead and develop the open space. I don't think we should do that easily. We have done it in the past, and if you remember the Wainwright case, we did do that. But we don't know how much density is available, and we don't know about the floodplain, the EQC, the tree save areas, and the steep slopes. We don't even know with some precision what kind of area that you have to develop. And I don't see what's wrong with the developer. And I don't think it's up to the staff to have to ferret out all of those things. And I think the applicant should do some more work before we put this on the program and waste a lot of staff time putting together an application which basically for the applicant. So anyway, I hate to be so negative. And I understand the comments about it being close to Metro, but you cannot walk to Metro from there. You've got to cross Sunrise Valley Drive. It's not an easy stroll to get there. And we promised that open space as part of the original cluster. And we debated this extensively the last time we went through the comp plan, which I think is less than 3 years ago. Why we would change that at this point in time without a good application that spells out the real tenets of this, it bothers me that we would do that.
Are there any commissioners, Commissioner Hancock and Commissioner Sargent?
Just a question. I'm just reminded.
Let's Hancock and then Sargent.
Thank you. Appreciate Commissioner Carter's comments, and I promise to be a good listener in this. I understand that this has been a long-term issue. It is very complicated. I am concerned that we are not allowing a community process for the ability to look at really usable open space. I don't know whether this plan is the right plan, but I want to make sure that there is a community process. That said, I hear the community comments at this point. I want to be thoughtful about it, understanding that there's been a lot of discussion at this point and the opportunity to have further conversations with Commissioner Carter and staff on this. And so understand that this is a preliminary vote at this time. And so my intention is to abstain and to be able to have further conversations. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I appreciate
Commissioner Sargent.
Just a question. I'm trying to remember what staff's recommendation was.
Staff recommended to not add to the work program.
Okay, thank you. I will go along with it.
In my own position on this is I will be supporting this, but with reservation. I think Commissioner Carter makes an excellent point with regard to timing in relation to the previous approval of the Reston comp plan, which we all participated in and we admired the product. What troubles me significantly, and I reiterate what I said earlier, we have an applicant who is not interested in maintaining a golf course. And so the concept of us kind of stepping back and saying, well, tough, maintain your golf course, to me is probably head in the sand kind of approach. This said, that's where my reservation is. I'm worried about what the outcome is for the future of the golf course, if that's the community's aspiration and desire to keep it, but in what state. But again, I'm going to be supporting this at this time. This is a preliminary vote. It's not the final vote, and June 4th will be the final point of decision. Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate staff's position here, not to forward at this time. It does need additional work, and it needs additional direction, too. It needs some oomph. It needs some moving it forward. So this place doesn't get so far behind. You've got a lot of things going on in Reston right now. This has been a fork. This has been a bump, lump, fork, whatever you want to call it, in the road for a while. And I hope we can somehow get this moving and on course with other initiatives to move Reston forward. So, but I support what you come up with. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion is to support staff's recommendation to not add this to the work program. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Abstain.
Those who abstain.
Abstain.
So we have 4 abstentions. We have Spain, Hancock, Bennett, and Clark. Okay. So 1 no, 4 nays, and 1 nay, 4 abstentions, and 6 yes. So the motion carries.